Please escort them out of my resort." The words left my lips calm and measured, slicing through the humid ocean air. The guards hesitated, glancing at my husband, ex-husband now, and his mother, who stood frozen on the white sand, their smiles curdling into disbelief. She had just said it. This house is for real family only, and he had nodded, "Honey, just go home." They had no idea whose house they were standing in. I met Daniel 5 years ago at a charity gala. He was charming, well-spoken, the kind of man who held your gaze like he could see your future in it. I was just starting out then, a hospitality consultant building boutique properties for other people's dreams. He told me he admired ambition in women. I believed him. His mother, Evelyn, pretended to. She brought me homemade cookies and called me dear. I should have recognized the sweetness for what it was, a glaze to hide the rot beneath. When Daniel proposed, Evelyn cried tears of joy and slipped a ring from her own finger onto mine, whispering, "Now you're truly family." I thought it meant acceptance. What it meant was ownership. The first cracks appeared subtle. Daniel's late nights at work. The whispers Evelyn never meant me to overhear. "She's too ambitious. She doesn't know her place." I brushed it off until I found the messages. Not from another woman, worse, from Evelyn herself. "You need to start protecting your inheritance. She's using you, Daniel. Once we secure the accounts, you can ask for separation quietly." I remember standing in the dark, the glow of his phone painting my shaking hands in cold light. My heartbeat didn't quicken, it slowed, like my body knew panic was useless. They wanted to strip me of everything: money, dignity, peace. They thought I'd crumble like the women they'd gossiped about at brunch. But I don't crumble. I build. I didn't confront him, not yet. Instead, I withdrew, quietly, methodically. I started moving funds from our joint investments into a new venture, one he didn't care enough to ask about. A coastal property development, just another project, he assumed. He even signed the transfer papers himself, distracted as always by Evelyn's poison whispers. By the time the divorce papers were drafted, every cent they thought was secured under his name was leveraged against the very land I'd bought. My land, my resort. I let him believe he'd won, that I was leaving with nothing. And I smiled when Evelyn sent me a message saying, "This family takes care of its own." When the invitation arrived for their family vacation, I accepted. I wanted to see their faces. They'd chosen my newly opened resort, of course. 5 stars, oceanfront, the perfect Instagram backdrop for Evelyn's performance of perfection. She had no idea whose signature was printed on the deeds. The morning of their special day, I arrived early. I wore white, the kind of white that makes people think you're innocent. Daniel looked surprised but pleased. Evelyn less so. She made her announcement over breakfast, her voice loud enough for the nearby tables to hear. "This house is for real family only," she said, gesturing around the villa like a queen addressing her subjects. Daniel gave his rehearsed nod. "Honey, just go home." The staff froze. The ocean went quiet. That's when I turned to the manager and said softly, "Please escort them out of my resort." It took a moment for the meaning to register. Evelyn blinked, her eyes darting from my face to the security team, then to the polished plaque beside the door. Shoreline Serenity Resort, founder and CEO Emma Cross. Daniel's expression cracked first, confusion curdling into realization, then fear. Evelyn sputtered, This can't be." "Oh, but it is," I said. "Every building, every room, every shell of this place belongs to me." Her mouth opened, then closed again. She looked small for the first time. Daniel tried to speak, to apologize, to spin, but the manager interrupted politely. "Sir, ma'am, your belongings have already been packed. I like efficiency." They were escorted past the guests they'd been bragging to all morning. Cameras clicked, whispers followed. I watched from the balcony as Evelyn's perfectly curated dignity collapsed under the weight of her own arrogance. Their special day had been meant to celebrate Daniel's new business, a company funded, unknowingly, by me. The contracts were in his name, but the intellectual property, trademarked to mine. By the time the lawyers finished unraveling it, they'd realized the company belonged to the woman they'd tried to erase. I didn't gloat. Revenge, when done right, doesn't need noise. As the sun dipped into the horizon, I walked barefoot along the sand, the tide brushing against my feet like applause from the universe. I felt nothing but clarity. They had built their world on manipulation and entitlement. I rebuilt mine on strategy and silence.